You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Calendar and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
Welcome to episode 16 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla Calendar and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yagi and I'm a real estate agent.
Hey, Andy, how does it feel to have Kayla in charge today?
Hey, you know what? I could probably get used to it, actually.
Good. Usually I just sit back and I let you run it and I'm like, all right, but this felt pretty good.
Absolutely. No, I think it's good. I think you should do it more often.
Okay, we'll work something out. But how's your day going?
Hey, everything is going good. It's been a great week. This week, Kayla, I've been trying to be more intentional about putting less on my calendar. Obviously, we know, everyone says they're busy. We all get busy. Obviously, our days fill up. But I've been more intentional about actually going and having a little bit of a looser schedule and maybe doing a little bit more of what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel? Do you feel like just more peace, just more time, focus?
Yeah, no, I think all in all, it does make me feel better because sometimes, you look at your calendar, you look at, you're starting the week, and I've actually kind of started the practice of, starting my week on Saturdays instead of a lot of people run Sunday to Saturday. I'm kind of starting on Saturday and thinking, okay, last week is done. We're starting fresh. And really, hopefully starting Saturday with, time for recreation and for family and friends. And so it's been a little bit of a mindset shift, but I've actually really enjoyed it. But as you know, sometimes it's daunting kind of staring down your calendar, and when you look and it's like, oh man, I have so much on my schedule. Like it happens, to both of us, and even like trying to find time to connect with you and, talk real estate, it can be really challenging sometimes.
It can be. And it's one of those things where you don't really think about it. You sometimes don't think like, my toxic trait is I do not add enough buffer between meetings or white space. It's like,
Yes.
What if one goes long? What if one starts early? So I think that's really amazing that you do that, because I think a lot of us included, it's a badge of honor to say, look how busy I am. And then you look at it and you're running ragged and you don't even have time to take a drink of water or eat, hence my day today. So I really love that you're doing that, Andy.
I started reading a book the other day too that I don't even know where it popped up from, but I'm listening on Audible. Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. Really, really good book. And I mean, I've read a lot of different stuff about, time management and, different techniques and different things, but really just talks a lot about, find what you do best and then use other people to buy back your time. And, I'm really lucky, not being too far into a real estate career, but having two just really tremendous full-time, team members. And so just really trying to find that balance. And again, we're still so new, all working together full-time. We're still trying to find, okay, what works well for you, what works well, what are your natural talents and how can we all complement each other?
It's true. They say delegate to elevate, right? Like,
Absolutely.
When you do best, where do you shine? My friend Chance said one time he saw me mowing the lawn a few years ago, and it would take me like an hour. And he's like, "What are you doing? You need to like hire that out and go do what you do best." And peace of mind. And now I don't have to mow. So
I feel like, was that kind of hard for you to make a decision like that, especially being somewhat of a rural farm girl that, maybe was a little bit more, having your dad farm work in agriculture?
I love that you asked that, Andy. Not for the house and that we have our primary in Fargo, but I still mow the lake lawn on my John Deere, so that I get a little taste of that. So, but when you're mowing the lawn at the lake, it's a little different. So
Yes, I will mow a little bit as well out at Otter Tail Lake. Usually my mom gets out there and has done it before anybody gets out there, but I did exactly that too. I got rid of my lawn mowing and even snow removal just because it's like, hey, I have more important tasks that I can be doing, especially family, health, and wellness and everything else.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson for our audience too, is that just by taking it all on yourself does not make it easier, better. It's almost like if you can find the people to do the things that they're the best at, you can do the best at what you do. So,
Right.
which for you is many. And today, that's a nice little segue into what we're going to talk about today. But Andy, I want to talk today about you because last time we got to hear all about KK and how I got into mortgage lending. But I want to talk a little bit today, maybe a smidge about the market we'll touch on, but I want to dig into where Andy got today because the Andy I met, gosh, how many years ago was that? 18 years ago, is a lot different now. And if people knew your story, I think it would make them think that, heck, maybe they could be a realtor.
Sure.
So, can you give the audience just a little smidge about where you're from, a little bit about your family?
I absolutely can. But first, Kayla, I think we should talk about the market a little bit.
You want to talk about it?
I think we should. I think you should tell us a little bit about rates because obviously people
You want to know about them?
watching this, they want to know about us, but they want to know what the market's doing too.
The market's pretty flat, guys. So rates have been pretty stable. We saw, a little over 7, 6.875 I saw recently. Now you see 6.9. So they've remained flat, no huge swings. Inventory has still remained, unless, anything has come out today or in the last few days, but pretty much the same. I know that around the 4th of July and after, it gets a little more difficult because people are really wanting to be in homes before the school year starts. So we'll see what happens, in the next few weeks. But ultimately, on my end, in the lending world, we're seeing a pretty flat rate market currently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you, Andy? Are you seeing anything on your end?
Yeah, so I am seeing some lenders that are a little bit more competitive, than others, and there are still people that certainly want to buy. Some people are being discouraged. I feel like just whether it's I've got some FHA or USDA buyers that they are really just having a tough time competing with a conventional loan or somebody with cash, and so kind of reevaluating our strategies there a little bit. Just because you don't want it to be a totally frustrating experience. I mean, even on some lake properties, I've had clients offer way, way over and still not getting property. So it's, like 2 years ago, except only higher rates, and that's frustrating.
What are you seeing in the Lakes area, Andy? A different market than primary residences. Obviously, people, it's their second home. Are you seeing a lot of lake inventory, and are you seeing homes going over asking price in any lakes area?
Yeah, we really are. So I would say there's a fair amount of inventory. Inventory is still tight. Lake properties too, if they're appropriately priced and they're desirable, they're selling relatively quick. I think one, observation is there are some people that, they have maybe a little bit of an outrageous price tag on their properties, but a lot of sellers at that point, they don't have to sell. They're not in the financial position where it's going to make or break them. So a lot of people approach it with the mindset that, hey, if someone's willing to give me what I'm asking for, I will sell it. And so, and we're seeing people certainly willing to spend money. I've certainly had cash buyers on lake properties, but the only difference from like 2 years ago is even though there's a huge demand, just with money being so expensive right now, lake properties are they're a big animal, right? I mean, you look at the property you bought and how dated it was and all of the work it needed and all the beautiful things you've done to it. So a lot of people are still willing to take on projects like that, but they're not going to pay top dollar and then have to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. So whereas 2 years ago, people were more apt to, hey, the market's hot, I want this property and I'll take it, even, if the deck and roof are shot and whatever.
Well, right, and rates were lower. What about, question for you, Andy, since we're on the topic, what about seasonal lake homes? Because the reason I asked that is you used to be able to rent out, lake homes, you could do it all year round, but with a seasonal, you're limited a little bit to just renting it out in the summer if you do buy one. Are you seeing seasonal properties kind of sit on the market longer?
I think some are, and when I look at some of the association properties, and there have been, still some of the more traditional resorts being broken up and, trying to sell off the individual cabins, just with access to those common elements. I feel like some of those are sitting a little bit longer. Some of our local governments, county and cities around here either have had or currently do have like a moratorium on new vacation rentals, just as they study it because so many have been popping up. I think the biggest concern for someone who's an investor who might buy a property and want to Airbnb it would be, what is coming down the pipe. And I think where a lot of counties are going to get people is like with the septic system regulation saying that, hey, you can't advertise this cabin like it's for 12 people because it's got a 1,500 gallon septic tank that's sealed. I don't care if you're going to come and pump it, but you're so I think that's where some legislation is going to come.
Interesting. I've never heard about that, but that's good to know. I like it.
We're also seeing, Kayla, I came across an article the other day and that Zillow kind of put out and just kind of talking about a little bit about home prices rising as buyers outnumber sellers. And so price is still steadily increasing. I mean, I've been watching the local market and I'm so surprised sometimes what I'll see a property come on the market for and then just the flutter of activity. But the really, really interesting piece about this talks especially about the fact that sellers are actually starting to sit on the sidelines, like that the high rates are actually affecting sellers even more than buyers. And again, it comes back to, being hooked on that low mortgage rate that they likely already have. And even talking to other agents who are freaking out, who are having just awful years, or mortgage lenders, just because there isn't a lot of inventory. And Kayla, we're probably starting to sound like broken records talking about the market and everything, but it's the reality out there. And so again, so the point is that unless someone is, unless there's a death or someone's moving for work or divorce or something else, a lot of people are sitting tight, which, I never blame anyone. Like, hey, if your house is working for you and you don't have to move, now maybe isn't the best time for you. But if it's not fitting you, then hey, it might be time. Talk to Kayla first.
Right. Well, thank you very much for that. One of the things I'm also seeing is I've gotten so many requests, not just because I do first mortgages, but I don't do seconds. I don't do home equity lines of credit. I don't do second mortgages. I've had more people reach out to me for second mortgages because they don't want to go and move and take a higher rate, but they'll take, a current rate on a smaller amount to improve their home. So that's something I'm seeing quite often.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, that makes a lot of sense.
We'll see what next week brings, but can we get to your family now and everything about you?
Sure.
I love it. So for those of you that don't know, I met Andy at NDSU freshman orientation. So, and your cousin, right? Your cousin was with.
Cousin Jordan, yeah.
Jordan, yes. So Andy and I, if you guys don't know, we go way back. But a lot of people might not know about you, Andy, and how you got to where you are. And so that's where I want to dig in a little bit. And that's where I kind of want to start with your family, because it's cool to hear how you went from, I won't ruin the surprise, but from where you started to kind of what the trajectory has been for you. So can you share a little bit about all of that?
Are we starting from NDSU days, Kayla?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, can we do that?
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe even just to preface that, I grew up on a family farm, Thief River Falls, Minnesota. I've got tons of relatives kind of in the west central Minnesota area, Breckenridge, and family still very involved in farming. I'm actually still involved in farming and egg businesses as well. But I thought I'd go off to NDSU, get a business degree, and yeah, met you, Kayla, at orientation along with Jordan. And Jordan kind of was like, hey, look at that cute girl sitting over there. And I'm like, well, hey, let's go talk to her. Let's go meet her. And so we met and got to be good friends all through college, had lots of classes together. Kayla, I actually started working in funeral service when I was in college, about a month in to my time at NDSU. You remember when the advisors, like Dr. Rimpf, would say, oh, just take 15 credits, don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. You took 19.
With the exception of Bio 150, which I ended up having to retake and narrowly passed. Everything was pretty simple. And so I got a job at a funeral home in Moorhead, ended up working there 4 years, would go home and farm in the summer. And then, hey, I'm going to go to mortuary school. It's 2 more semesters. So I buzzed down to the U of M, lived in St. Paul, worked between St. Paul and White Bear Lake for a few years after I graduated. And then it was kind of to the point where, I want to get closer to family. There was one stretch where, of course, we're talking to family all the time, electronic communications, phone calls. But I didn't see my family for one stretch for like 6 months.
Wow.
And it was okay, but it's like, family is important. And so I'd rather be closer. And so I had opportunities to either go opportunities to go a lot of places, but Fergus
Mhm.
Falls or Crookston. And I'm like, well, I don't want to live so far north. So I came to Fergus Falls, managed a group of 6 funeral homes and a crematory for about 10 years. And, it's jumped into real estate investing, got my license, had some rental properties, and thought, it's time for a change, and jumped into real estate in
Yeah.
September of 2020 full time.
I can't believe it's only been since 2020 because I feel like you're crushing it. But one of the things that I really admire about you, Andy, is no matter what you do, you succeed. I mean, the fact that you walked up to a girl at orientation and said hi, and the fact that you farm, went into funeral services where that is emotional. I don't know if it was for you in that position, but for people to trust you and to put one of the biggest, parts of their life in your hands, like, what a cool thing to see you then take that into real estate, because it's these huge life journeys that you're part of. um, in terms of the move to real estate, was that a good feel move for you? Did you feel like you were leaving something behind when you left, being a funeral director? How did that transition feel for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was a scary transition, Kayla, because
Um,
here I was going from a great salary and great benefits
right.
to jumping into something with zero salary, zero benefits, zero guarantee. And that was scary, especially, having a house, having a house payment, having a wife, having children. Um, it was scary, but it actually turned out to be all right. And a big part of that is just
Mhm.
actually all of the relationships and connections I made working in funeral service. But there definitely is a piece that I left behind. In fact, I was talking to a potential client yesterday who I'm going to be working with, who actually is a funeral director still. And so it's always fun to talk with other people that are still in my former profession, just
Mhm.
about what's going on, about mutual people we know and the like. And I do miss that because, I always say real estate can be a little bit lonely. I mean, you're connecting with people
Yeah.
electronically, virtually. You're maybe doing a quick showing. You don't really have that time to
Yeah.
build as great of a connection versus when you're there, from the time a death occurs to meeting with the family to walking with them through the course of that week, the funeral, and so on. And then plus not getting to see large groups of people. I thrive in situations like that. But I found that I just have to find other ways to kind of get out there and be involved and to kind of fill that cup with other organizations.
Right. I feel like you would be perfect for that because in real estate, you are having to connect with people. You are having to go out. You probably go to a lot of networking events or try to at least. So I feel like that at least that can kind of stay the same. Is there anything that surprised you about being in real estate that maybe someone listening to this that's a realtor could take away, or someone that's maybe thinking about it would find interesting?
So I think the most interesting thing is, my perception, and even a lot of other people, like even when I talk about my former funeral experience, they
Yeah.
say, wow, like I could never do that. And it must be so great to be out of that and be in real estate and, working towards, happy things. And realistically, and I'm not downplaying death at all, because I mean, I know you've lost family members, you've lost your dad, mother-in-law, or I'm sorry, father-in-law, and other people close to you, and that's really challenging. And I don't have an understanding of that because I haven't lost a parent or an in-law, but I can empathize with you. But I would say, by and large, the emotions encountered in real estate are worse. And they're worse from the standpoint that I think, in funeral service, oftentimes a death has already occurred. And maybe it's been sudden, or maybe there's been, something that's led up to it, an illness or whatever. And, you're not really involved in that piece. So there you're kind of picking up, it's kind of a continuum of care. You're picking
Yeah.
up, caring for that family, versus in real estate, I mean, you're kind of the one, you're delivering the bad news. You're there, you're kind of, get to be that punching bag, if you will. And so, like, some of the people that I've experienced, and I've experienced some really, really tough things in funeral service, and just some very devastating things that, I mean, I would cry right now if I told you the stories. But the people in those cases are just, they're there and they're very grateful generally. I mean,
Mm.
obviously you have your difficult situations with people and not being able to make anyone happy no matter what you do. But in real estate, I mean, just the gamut of emotions is really surprising, and just how people's true colors really show through. Because I can't say I've ever in funeral service had someone that was truly, truly awful. I mean, there have been some ones that are close, granted, trying to put it in perspective what they're going through. But
Right.
I've had a number of clients that I can say have been truly awful to work with.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes our industry, and I use this word a lot, is seen as a commodity. I can get a realtor or a lender anywhere. A lot of people fail to realize, yes, you can, but the quality. And I think with the job that you had prior, I'm guessing you were one of maybe two in town or one, you know what I mean? And it's such a time where like you're like that next step of help us because we don't even know what to do at this point. Where I think in real estate, it's like if you don't help me, I can go across the street. I think there might be some of that, and then obviously there's those clients that are just like, thank you so much. I've never had to buy a house before, and thank you. You just get a different blend.
Yep.
Mhm.
No, and I've had some really, really great clients, and I'm sure you have too. In fact, I have one client that, Ivy, my youngest newborn, she came in and had actually, knit a little sweater for her. I mean, I've had some really, really excellent clients,
Mhm.
but there have equally been a lot that are very challenging.
Right. You probably had to learn a lot, like just learn to navigate that. But so in talking about real estate a little bit, and I just said it, like we're kind of a commodity sometimes. I can tell everybody what sets me apart, but as a realtor, there are thousands and thousands of you guys. What sets Andy apart from any other realtor?
Well, Kayla, I think the biggest thing is, taking the time, to sit down and, listen to people and listen to their needs. I jumped into real estate with really not much experience and, kind of maybe had a little imposter syndrome, just thinking, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing some of the business I'm doing because, I really don't know what I'm doing. But realistically, it's if you sit down and you listen to people and you go and you do a good job for them. I mean, it's not very challenging at all. So I think just some of those very simple things. I think the other thing is being diligent and doing a good job, whether that attention to detail with paperwork, attention
Mhm.
to detail with listings, timely communications. I think the other piece is just the presentation and some of the marketing. And so one thing that I'm doing a lot of that nobody else does is doing video listing tours.
Yeah.
And that really, I mean, and we're using that on social media to actively lead generate and find
Mhm.
buyers for some of our listings. Even simple things, Kayla, like having professional photos done. I'm
Right.
going to reference this photo just because this property came on the market, and I see this all the time. And this came today.
Mhm.
This particular agent in the mirror.
Oh, what do you mean? It looks so good.
And I see, people with their fingers in front of their, or, a bathroom mirror and a flash, and
Mhm.
it just really floors me. But
Mhm.
this is such a relationship-based business, and so
It is.
that's one of the biggest frustrations, Kayla. Is I know I can knock it out of the park, and if clients are looking for a great team with great systems and tools, attention to detail, communications, excellent presentation, and marketing, look no further. If someone's looking for um, an agent only based on the number of years they've been in business or because they're friends down at the bar or whatever, I can't compete with that. But
Mhm.
you see, and it goes back to your talk about being a commodity, and
Mhm.
that's the problem. People think it's a commodity, but at the end of the day, you know what, we can't worry about that. I mean, it makes me cringe for our profession when I see photos like that.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely horrendous
Mhm.
presentation, but all I can do is I can go and do the best I can for my clients and go find my people, just like you.
Mhm. I agree. And to your example there, I can say that as a consumer, I almost did not go and see the lake home that we bought because there were no pictures of the basement. And I'm like, what are they hiding? I don't want to waste my time. And when we saw the property, our mouths hit the floor. We're like, why didn't they show these photos? So it's so important because you need to hire someone to do not just a good job, but an incredible job because this market is tough. And it's important you've got the right team on your side. So
Absolutely.
so, as we wrap up, I want to ask you one last thing, and that is for anyone that's wanting to get into real estate or wanting to sell their home or or anything in today's market. I'm sure you're hounded with these questions. Should I get into real estate? Should I sell my house? How do you answer those two questions when approached in this market, Andy?
Very honestly, Kayla. So if someone wants to talk about real estate, I talk to people all the time because a lot of people, I think there are a lot of people who maybe they're not content with their career. And we've seen a lot of that post COVID, right? People say, hey, I want to, the great resignation, which there are some people that have done well, some people that say, boy, I regret that.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people that, hey, I want to talk to you perceptually. You're doing really great. You had another career. And so I tell people, because a lot of people also want flexibility. And I was talking to someone recently who they're very busy in their business, but want to get into real estate for flexibility. I said, boy, I have to be honest, when the flexibility piece is a misnomer. If you're jumping into real estate right away, you're going to work 60 hours a week if you want to succeed. My wife would say that I probably worked 20 hours a week. Now that I'm down the road a little bit and I have a couple of great full-time staff members and some part-time staff, I have a little bit of flexibility and freedom, but it's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. So if you're okay working, most nights, most weekends, going all over with no guarantee and no salary, absolutely. But it's not going to work for most people because most people need that income.
I agree.
As far as people that are looking to sell, Kayla, I sit and have a very honest discussion and kind of find out what their goals are, what's motivating them. Kayla, if you do sell your house, where are you headed? And kind of what's triggering you to move. So if people have a plan in place and they have somewhere to go and it makes sense, absolutely. But if people are just like, I'm just really kind of tired of my house and I kind of like this house and wanting to jump into something else, if it works for them financially and it's feasible, absolutely. But if not, I do tell some people, you know what, now might not be the right time for you. Because as much as I'd love to list your house and put it out there, I know we could sell it. It'd be great to have the inventory. It's got to make sense for you. And people don't always think about that right away.
Well, and for those that are listening, honesty and being genuine like you, Andy, go a long way. So I love that. Anything else you want to add for the good of the group?
No, I don't think so. I would just say in general that, nothing brings me more joy, Kayla, and I think you as well, is, helping people reach their goals. It's just really fun to connect with like-minded people or individuals that, maybe see what we're doing out here or I've gotten a personal referral from someone and they're like, hey, you know what, we really would like to work with you. I think it's all about going out and not even in what we do, but just in life. Go and find your people, Kayla. Find your people, find your why, find what makes you happy. Spend your time wisely. I'm not reminded quite as much of my mortality, not working in funeral service every day, but I still think about it all the time. Like life goes by so fast. So I think that just take it a day at a time and don't sweat the small stuff.
I'm going to take that advice. Okay.
Do it.
Well, I love it. Andy, it's good to see you as we wrap up episode 16 of It's Real podcast. I hope to see you sooner than later, maybe next week. We won't have to tackle our schedules so difficultly, if that's a word.
I think we need to work at, putting an episode together like at the lake or something. Too.
Yes, we'll work on that. But thank you for sharing with everybody the all about you, the market. Good to see you, Andy.
Thanks, Kayla. Have a great week.
I will if you will.
See ya.